All right. Just a reminder, here's an extra credit opportunity for Sunday, March 9th. Free A's on quizzes. We're going to have many of those. So those will give you 2 free outs if you'd like to attend. Let's get back to our...
Don't forget daylight savings.
Oh, that's a true statement. My wife reminded that. So you're going to lose an hour of sleep that day, too. Yeah, is is Saturday night the night you switch it over?
Yep.
So don't be late and miss your extra credit opportunity.
Wait,
I
do we
can
have
already
to
tell
be
you that
on
week's
time,
sick.
or do we
They'll still get one. They'll still get one.
Depends which thing they were planning on coming to.
Yes.
All right. So, last time, let's see, where did we leave this off? So we have this guy sort of kind of falling out of the sky, I think, using the correct math, right? We have a couple of issues, though. One issue is that, well, a couple of goals that we have right now. One goal is we want to know how far it's traveled. But another thing is we probably want to actually see the golf ball continue on, right? Because at this point it's going off the screen. So now we need to mess around with cameras a little bit. Okay? So put this into like a Mario mindset. You know, if we were playing a little Mario game here, Mario is running across the screen. When he gets to maybe middle of the screen or something like that, we'd like the screen to move on so you can see what's coming. We don't want Mario bumping up against the edge of the screen so that, you know, the next turtle or the little mushroom guy just bumps into you before you even see him, right? So we need to mess around with cameras a little bit. So we're going to go back here, and we're going to start at our scenes level, or the inspector for our scene. And we see we have something here called the camera. The camera has an origin. So right now it's at 0, 0, which is center. It has a size. So how big is it tracking? So if we change it from 568 to 20, the camera is taking only a very small, I mean, it's still showing us the whole screen, but the camera is only showing us a 20 wide swath of our screen. Okay. We also have tracking area. So, for instance, if we change this to 568, actually let's change this to, let's change the tracking area to 20. We're actually not going to notice a difference here. What we'll notice the difference is once we get to the edge of the screen. Okay, we'll see that by example today. So right now it's showing us that tracking area, although we're not actually making it track at this point. Okay. Okay, we also have a rotation for the camera. I'm not sure what that does. We'll have to mess with that. All right, so what we're going to do is we'd like the camera to track our golf ball for at least our initial starting point here, right? So we're going to come back out here to our actors. We're going to double click on the golf ball. There's a couple of different camera behaviors, but this is the one we want, called control camera. This one will make the camera follow this particular guy. So just dropping that behavior in there. Once he gets to the center of the screen, it should start tracking him. And it didn't. No, should work. Should work in the prototype. Let me run this again. I think maybe it did track him. It just took a while for it to start following. No. All right, let's go back to our scene camera. I'm going to take the tracking area down to 200. I wouldn't think this should make a difference. Well, this is good. All right, let's take it out of the golf ball and then put it back into the golf ball. I'll put it at the top this time. We'll see if it makes a difference.
Okay, it is making a difference, but the start is moving along with it. As you see, it went a lot farther than normal. Like it's going higher.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, no. Oh, it is. I did this on purpose. Why? Go ahead.
Is it because those aren't movable?
They're not movable. So those guys, they're sticking with the scene because they can't move. Let's see if we can prove that that's the case. We're going to go into our start button, and we're going to make this guy. Oh, where's movable?
Down.
Down 3.
Stop.
The lid.
All
The
the
lid.
way down.
Hey. Okay. Now what's interesting though, he already it was off. All right, we gotta hit it. No, I don't think that was the case. All right, so why isn't this guy tracking? Well, for starters, if I go into the camera and we set its width to be the same thing as the width of the tracking, so we set it to 200, and then we set its X to be 200. Well, that's close enough. We first start our scene. Well, that's messed up. Hold on, we need to. Let's see if that looks less messed up.
Nope.
Why is it stretching the whole scene? This is not how it used to work, I promise. Whatever that used to be.
That used to be 400.
40. That's right.
Is there a new camera behavior? Well, just for the sake of argument, let's try adding it to the, take it out of the golf ball here, we'll add it to the one in the scene. That should not be required. But if it is, that gets back to our rule for, one of the rules of control camera is that you can only have that behavior inside of one actor at a time. So perhaps, and this actually maybe would make some sense, you have to add it to the actual guy in the scene, so that you can only have one guy that the camera is going to follow. So if I put multiple golf balls on the scene at the same time, who would it actually follow? So, but that is not how it used to work.
No, that's not the case.
All right, let me save, kill game salad, and reopen it. I doubt that's the issue, since it sounds like most of you or many of you have game salad open and you're trying to duplicate this.
of a sudden it's not displaying.
I feel like that's covering it longer though. Because like we're not seeing as much of a decline. I don't know if that has anything to do with it.
Let's see. I'm going to revert this guy to the prototype. So I don't think that's what we want anyways. It is interesting that this guy is now off the screen because I think we've... It's had some issues.
Did it go out drinking last night? So now it's displaying again. The control camera wouldn't display the gravity.
Well, that was because when we put it into the instance, it loses access to those displays because we could have put it back in,
Right.
but it dropped it because you might want to show something specific to that instance.
Right.
Okay, I'm gonna have to channel Yoda here or something and figure out what this version of Game Salad thinks.
You might need Spock for this one.
Spock maybe for a lot. I bet you it's illogical. This is the same camera behavior. It's a persistent behavior. Says, follow me, I'm famous. Add this behavior to an actor and the scene's camera will scroll to keep the actor in view. Clearly. The follow or tracking area around the actor is defined in the scene editor. Using camera edit mode, only one actor instance per scene can have this behavior. Actors in non-scrollable layers. Oh.
Always make it scrollable.
Gotta go to the scene. Where's our, we need to wrap on, is it wrap? Well, why we shouldn't need to. Since it scrolls, it won't actually wrap. Let's see if that does the trick. This looks like it's going to wrap.
Yep.
All right. How do we set this guy to be scrollable then? I bet you this is it. I'm going to make this guy's width to be 2,000. I bet you that's it. Now there's actually more scene for him to follow. Game Salad is just killing me here.
What is the border that's like around the whole?
Well, this sounds like a new thing. Non-scrollable layers. Actors in non-scrollable layers cannot use the camera behavior. Okay. Well, here's the scene. Am I in a scrollable layer?
Is that whole like gray outline is saying not?
What's this?
Underneath the game scene, there's attributes and layers. Go to layers.
Layers.
It says scrollable.
Scrollable.
We got to say the golf ball is scrollable?
And it won't let us.
Or just say everything's not scrollable?
Yeah, let's try not scroll.
Well, so the background is the main layer. Everything, all this stuff lives inside the background layer. It's set as scrollable.
I mean, actors in non-scrollable layers. No.
I'll try in a second. I think that would be if the golf ball was its own layer.
You might have to set it.
Can we put it on its own?
Well, we wouldn't want it on its own layer. Think about this, so we might as well talk about layers for a second then. Think about Mario. So Mario has kind of the sky background thing, and then there's clouds and stuff, and some of the later Mario games, the clouds move different than the background thing. So each of those is a layer. If any of you have ever used Photoshop, Photoshop does things in layers. So every single object is a container, and those containers can hold other objects. So right now we have a single container, a single global container here called background. That's the only guy that's holding on to any other objects. So background container holds all these other things. Now, according to this guy set up is scrollable. Didn't seem to make a difference whether we clicked it or not, but that's the default, which seems reasonable enough. So all of these guys live in that layer. If the golf ball was its own layer and we set him up as scrollable, things would only be able to scroll within the golf ball. So we could say the golf ball wraps, and then we can maybe have like a, almost like a banner, something.com or something like that. It would just scroll back and forth around inside the golf ball type thing. Okay, so control camera. You will obey me. Let's see here.
Got it.
Okay.
You have to go into the initial scene, and then you have to make the size larger.
What? I'm in the initial scene.
Okay.
Went to scene.
Windows version, there's a scenes tab.
That's what he's in right now.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then it should work. I just made it 2000.
Like 500 on the height, just see.
Change the height just cuz.
Just cut.
Oh, yeah, it works.
Maybe our golf balls too big.
So yours is working doing this, but mine's not?
Well,
Did you delete the
yeah,
camera?
Oh yeah, put the control camera back in the golf ball.
Well, it is in the golf ball.
Is it?
no, it's
No,
not.
it's not.
It's not.
No, it's not.
Everybody relax.
Well, it's fun in here that we're doing informatics.
This is true.
I think Wall's jealous.
Huh.
Hey!
Bazinga. I thought Bazinga is supposed to be a cop-out.
We got something.
So wouldn't Sheldon say Bazinga if, you told me it was going to work and then it totally didn't work? All right. So now we're back to what I was talking about where the guy goes to the edge of the screen. We probably don't want him to go all the way to the edge of the screen and just start pushing the screen over, correct? We'd rather have the camera kind of move so he always kind of says stay centered, something like that. All right, so we're going to go back to our camera. We're going to go to, actually I'll leave the height because with a high launch angle we might have the ball go off the top of the screen. Huh? Yeah, I was just talking about the height here.
Oh, okay.
We're not doing the camera yet. I said I was going to leave the height for this thing over here because the golf ball might go above the screen if we have a high launch angle or something like that. All right, so we're not dealing with the center of the camera. We're dealing with the tracking area of the camera. We're going to go ahead and set the width down to 200. Okay, so now it's tracking in that zone. Let's look at what that does.
Hey.
Okay, so now he's not quite pushing to the edge of the screen. Now it looks, we're going to see him actually hit. Okay, so we sort of kind of have the camera doing what we want it to do.
Sort of.
Okay, now, as we see this guy flying, would you agree that we probably do not want our golf ball to just fall through the ground to oblivion?
Yeah.
Golf balls, assuming you hit it in a reasonably good direction, land on grass, right? So we need to give it some land. All right, so we need to go out to Google and steal an image. Let's just say grass and hope we don't get any marijuana references. Oh, look at that. Oh,
Hey, what do you know?
it's pretty legit. This looks kind of
And
like
it's public domain.
looks like the rough though. Is that acceptable?
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking fairway. All right, so we're going to use this one. I'm going to right click on this guy and we're going to download the image. Should go out here. So we're going to do some very, very, very ghetto image editing in here. Okay? Do not take this to your multimedia class or anything and say this is how it's done. All right, so I'm going to open this guy up. All right. Well, first of all, I don't want my grass to be this long, so I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna mow the yard a little bit. All right. So
Budget cuts.
We're in a recession.
we're gonna grab this guy, rectangular selection. Okay, we're going to say that's our new grass. Okay, that's the grass.
All right.
All right. Now, we don't want this white background, right? Okay, so we're going to go to a little magic wand thing here.
Ooh.
It's like the sunrise at a lion.
Okay, so we just highlight it, and it tries to pick all the same color, so we just got to go and drag in all these little nooks and crannies. I know. That one, I might have to do some zooming for that one. This could be like kind of a... oh, look at that. Savant mode. Oh.
Oh.
Everybody relax. Now I need to find it.
Left.
Left.
Right. Up.
Left.
Down.
Right.
To the left.
Still left.
Hey, there it is.
Right in the middle.
Oh.
Eyes on.
Got it.
Easy.
All right. So we have our new image. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. All right. Now, we're going to go back to Game Salad. We're going to go into our, just hit back to get to our scene. Down here at the bottom, we have something called images. And we can drag stuff in there, or we can just hit the little plus sign to add. I'm going to go into my downloads for our images, and I'll drag this guy in here. And now I have grass. Okay. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out to my scene. Now, I think I can just drag grass out here. The problem with doing... oh, I actually created an object for me. Good. Okay. It used to be if you drug an image out there, it would be on the screen, but you couldn't actually give it behaviors or anything like that. Okay. Now, clearly our grass is a little bit large. Okay. So we're going to go into our grass clip art object that it created for us. And we're going to change its size. We do not want it to be that tall. So we're going to set it to a height of 50. And then we're going to, hold on, can I even select it anymore? It's taken over the screen so much that I can't select it.
You can, but
It should be able
it looks like you can only get it there.
Huh.
Oh, I think this did do what I thought it said it used to do. So we're going to go back to the way you really need to do this. So I'm going to create an actor. We're going to go into this actor, and an actor can have an image associated with it.
Drag the image from the bottom to the...
And then just the...
Okay.
Just drag it into the
You
box.
could just drag it.
Oh, I don't want to do that. I want to drag it up here.
Yeah.
I want to drag it to this guy.
That's the one.
All right, so now we want to keep our height to be, I'm going to say 50 for right now. We'll see what that looks like. And we're going to make our width, let's set it to 1,000, and let's see. Oh, that actually potentially looks sort of legit. Okay. Then I'm going to put this guy out on the screen. Oh, look at that. That's like perfect grass. All right. Sort of.
Yeah, close enough.
So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to double click just in this instance. Remember, we don't have to unlock an instance in order to change its attribute. So I'm going to change its position to be on Y. Well, let's actually set it to 0, 0 initially. Go ahead and hit play. And it's falling out of the sky. Well, so we need to make that guy so he's not movable. Go back into our grass. Go into physics. Go into movable. Say don't move. Okay, so there's our grass. It's still pretty far off the screen. So we need to go in here. We can go to into the actual instance. Okay, good enough. Double click on that. So we see the Y. Okay, now we hit start. Oh, off the end of the driving range. Look at that. Okay, we need to make it a little. Just put an ocean out there. All right, let's make it 2,000 or 200. Yeah, the best way to mow the yard. See, that looked way cooler on the. Well, yeah, I get that.
Yeah, it'll
Okay,
into the jungle.
good enough for right now. Yeah, I'm gonna actually make it 25 high. So really what I'm saying is it wasn't good enough, but now that's worse. So we're gonna set it back to 50. We're gonna say it's good. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to make it so that when our golf ball finally lands, it doesn't fall through the grass. We want it to actually be able to hit the grass, interact with it. Okay? So what we're going to do is we are going to go into our golf ball and we're going to add a behavior. We're going to add the collide behavior. So I could say this golf ball collides with an actor of type. Did I just call it actor 1?
Yeah.
Actor 1. Very solid naming conventions. Okay, so we're going to say that's what happens to this guy. Uh-oh. It's a strong wind on the first tee today. Okay, so whoa! It's just like amateur rocketry. Ugh, there we go. Whoa! So we gotta put our ocean down there, right?
I don't think our 2000 extended this way. I think it only extended that way. So the opposite way for you. Like
What?
it didn't extend the way we wanted it to.
It did because I moved it.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I started at 0, 0.
Okay.
Because I think I have my scene a lot. Yours is 2,000. I think I set mine to like
Well-
15,000 or something. I know exactly what you're saying. See, mine's 15,000. Yeah, that's why I have ocean at the end of mine. So, we're fine. Now, we've just used the default behavior for colliding. We've said the golf ball collides with the ground, deal with it. Let the physics engine deal with it. We can also associate a rule with this, though. So we can go into our golf ball, and instead of saying this guy collides with it, we can create a rule. I'm going to remind me to move the golf ball up in the air a little bit before I hit play. So we're going to say this actor receives an event. This is the golf ball. So I'm the golf ball. I receive the event. What event? I overlap or collide with an actor of type actor 1. And what am I going to do? I am going to destroy myself. Except it's in alphabetical order, and I gotta go through my ABCs.
No, D is right there.
All right. So
Set the golf ball high.
So what I'm going to do to start with is we're not going to have the golf ball touching the grass.
Need to get a T.
Oh,
Should we make a 50?
hold on. We're okay here. I need to get this golf ball less wide. So we're going to change its size. We're going to make it 50 by 50 again.
We still want it displaying.
Okay. Yeah, that part doesn't matter. We already tested what the number is. All right, so we'll hit start. It's not touching the grass yet. We can put our little fake T in there if we want in a second. And as soon as it hits the ground, it's going to explode. It's one of those trick golf balls. Well, it didn't really explode. It just kind of disappeared. Okay. Some interesting effects we can do is inside the golf ball. Before we destroy it, I'm going to create some particles. I'm going to create 2,000 particles. Particle lifespan is 1 second. Set that to 1 second. Velocity. We'll leave it as a default. Size. It's fine. Color. What color does... we'll make it sparkle white. Rotation doesn't matter because we're not going to be able to tell. That's fine. Hold on, did I put that after the destroy?
We'll put it before.
I don't think it's going to make a difference. Hold on. I'm going to take the destroy out. That way we can see our awesome particles. It's getting destroyed before the particles. The particles are coming as part of the golf ball. So once it gets destroyed, we don't see them. Wait, it fell through. Why did it fall through? It wasn't destroyed. We don't have the collision thing, and we don't have it that this guy bounces off it or anything, right?
Right.
We just have it that we receive an event when he collides. Okay, so we can detect when an object collides with another object and respond to that, correct? But that doesn't make it so that we're actually bumping into it. We have to use the collide behavior to do that. So we could throw that collide behavior inside here. So we can say we want to start these particles, but we also want this guy to collide. Actually, I'm not sure it's going to work inside of a rule.
Yeah.
We'll see. It should, because it should at least fire once, which I think is acceptable. Okay, and there we go. All right. So we can respond and still have this guy collide. So that's one option we can have. Now, if we're going to have our golf ball collide with the turf, right now what is it doing? It's hitting and it's bouncing along the ground, but what's happening? It's continuing on at its velocity, right? Okay. So we've handled the golf ball falling out of the sky now. Now, as soon as the golf ball hits the ground, we want to capture two pieces of information associated with our golf ball launch monitor, dealy flippy. We want to get carry distance and total distance. So carry distance is how far it literally traveled in the air. And as soon as it hits the ground, we have that distance, right? So before we figure out what comes next, we're going to go ahead and we're going to say that this guy does collide with the ground. So that way he'll collide. But we're also going to add a rule. And we're going to say this actor overlaps or collides with an actor of type actor 1. When that happens, we know it hit the ground. Okay? So when it hits the ground, we're going to change velocity to 0 in the direction it's currently going, to the right. So we'll just have it stop for right now. Okay?
That'll work.
Well, I guess we'll find out. Do we? Does Y keep going or does X keep, I think it should work. Linear velocity, I think, should. Oh, no, linear velocity is still a formula. All right, so we're going to need to. We have to change the game's variable. So in the game, we have an attribute, and this attribute is current ball speed. So we need to set current ball speed back to 0. So rather than changing the golf ball's velocity, we're just going to change an attribute. The game's current ball speed to 0. And that should make him stop moving. All right. It's a very uneven turf with a lot of wind. Okay. So we want to get his actual distance that he traveled.
Where's
Still changing.
earthquake?
Here, we can do this. After we start, set the, let's change, we'll change our attribute on, we'll set this guy's position on X to be whatever it currently is. Plus 75. I think that should be okay. It'll hit, change his vertical or his the ball speed to 0, so he won't move that direction anymore, and we'll just lift him back up in the air. What did I do? Oh, I did X. Complete incompetence. Golf ball position Y to be whatever Y currently is. Plus 75. I think that puts it up in the air. I guess it won't matter. We'll either put it up in the air or put it below the grass line. Oh, it's just going to keep falling. And we're going to set his movable. And all of this is completely just for the way it looks, aesthetics. It has nothing to do with what we're trying to accomplish. So we're also going to change the golf ball's movable. To false. Oh, come on. Is that not a persistent, or is that's an action, right? All right, we're just going to say that doesn't matter. We're going to let him bounce. Okay. So what we want to do now is we can determine when he first collided with the ground. In fact, I don't even want this to... Actually, this is fine. We're going to not change his ball speed. We're not going to change his position on Y. Instead, we are going to destroy him. But we're going to do something before we destroy him. Okay, so let's make sure he gets destroyed when he hits. What we want to have is we want to have something that's on the screen that tells us current distance traveled. So as we hit the golf ball, we want to see, you know, it's at 75 yards, 80 yards, 90 yards, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Constantly ticking up. And we'd like to have that guy kind of go along with the golf ball. Okay, we want him at the top of the screen, but we want him to travel with the golf ball because we see we don't have any of our original controls on the screen anymore, right? Okay, how do we do that?
You constrain his X attribute to the golf ball's X attribute.
Okay, because we have an issue. We can't have the camera follow more than 2 guys, right? Or more than 1 guy. So we're going to constrain this little sign's X attribute to the same as our golf ball's X attribute. So I'll go back out to the scene. And we'll go ahead and we'll put him, I don't know, top right or something like that. So we're going to add a new actor. We're going to call this guy distance. And we're going to make him width, we'll say 100, size 30. And we're going to have him display some text for right now. He's just going to say distance. Okay. Yeah, he is. So we're going to put this guy up here for right now. Now we're going to want him to keep his X some distance in front of the golf ball's X. Correct? Because we don't, otherwise it's going to immediately shoot over here to the left and be hovering above the golf ball. We probably want to just kind of keep it in the upper right-hand corner of the screen-ish. So we'll go back into distance. We're going to constrain an attribute. We're going to constrain this guy's x-coordinate to our golf ball's x-coordinate. How do we get our golf ball's x-coordinate? Okay, we have 2 options. We can either make it a game value, which is the way we've been doing things up to this point, or we can deal with the instances. Now, so this comes back to a question for us. We can keep playing this game of having these global variables and things like that, but how many golf balls are going to exist in our scene? 1. How many distance scoreboards are going to exist in our scene?
You said you wanted aerial distance and then light, and then how far it actually is.
Well, that's probably true. But this one distance guy, we're only going to have 1 of them. If we're only going to have 1 of these actors, of each of these actors in our scene, do we really need to play this game with our global variable? Or can we just edit the actual instances and have them talk directly to each other? Seems to make more sense, right? So when we use the global variables, that's when we need to have generic objects, possibly many of them, communicate with some sort of global source. But when we only have 1 or 2 instances in the game and we want this instance to communicate exactly with another instance, we might as well have them talk directly to each other. So in order to do that, we're not going to edit the prototype. Instead, we're going to come in here and we're going to edit the actual instance, and that's where we unlock the padlock. Okay? And we're going to come in here, we're going to constrain this guy's position on X to, notice we have another thing here called current scene. And the current scene shows us our layers. And as we've already seen today, we have 1 layer, background. And inside the background layer lives all of our other things, including golf ball. And that golf ball, and that is that particular instance of golf ball. Okay? Now, we can give a golf ball a tag. Or we can give it a name. So we could distinguish between more than 1 golf ball if we needed to. If we had multiple instances of a particular actor on the screen and we wanted to have something happen relative to one of them and not another one, we could distinguish between the 2 of them using a name. But we don't need to do that now because there's only 1 golf ball. Okay? So we want to get this golf ball's X position, and let's add 200 to it. We're just going to assume that's perfect. Okay, guy's still movable though. Now, question is, if I go in and I change the physics of my Scoreboard, my distance, to be not movable. Can we constrain his x-axis? Well, already it seems yes. He already moved, right? Looks like we want it to be a little more than 200. $400. Perfect. Except maybe you have the text not be in white. Shrink it a bit. Oh, pink. A happy accident. Oh, that's perfect. Ruh-roh.
Should we put it like a little more to the left?
Now we can do it a little more to the left, or we can do what? Change the cameras. Okay. Do we need to wait for the golf ball to get to the center of the screen to start following it? Now, once we leave the launch pad, all that crap in the upper left for the start button, it becomes inconsequential. We can even kill it off, right? We're not going to, but we want to go ahead and change our cameras. Tracking area. Actually, let's change our cameras.
I think it would have to be the tracking.
Let's change the tracking area to 100. See if that's what we do want it to do.
Nope.
Yeah, it's not. We need its width to be different. No, I changed the tracking area's width, rather. I need to, not the size. I think I want to change the origin on X to be -100. So you're going to start dragging quicker? No? Actually, it waited. We got to go the other direction. So we're going to go to actually +200 just because of the drag it looked like we had. Well, that's even worse.
I don't think it changed much.
Yeah, it didn't. I've built a strong hatred for the camera.
In the past 50 minutes-ish?
Yeah, see, I don't understand why it does that. 0.
Maybe it just doesn't like you.
Well, then what we can do here as our quick fix in our last minute is we can change the width to be 800. It'll stretch everything out. Oh, I thought it was going to catch it.
You just want to use the tracking area to include the camera size. Sorry, the tracking area would need to be large enough to include
To include the box, the distance box. So you want to make it 568. And then you want to make this guy back to 568. But it doesn't start tracking until later on.
What if it tracked
The distance.
instead of
And drag the golf ball?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could make that work, but I think we're going to have to still solve the same problem. All right, we'll mess with it on Friday.
All right. So if the distance is being constrained to the